Now, guys.
Yes, sir.
It's live.
Right, it's video.
Yeah. Okay. So today, all about we are going to see data structures and algorithms. Okay. So what are the agenda for today's session? So actually, we are going to see about interaction. So the types of data structures. One is the linear data structures and the non-linear data structures, and its applications as well as its real-time applications. So and we are going to see about algorithms. So exactly what is algorithm and the analysis of algorithms and on all. We are more to wrap the session somewhere. Okay. Yeah, guys. The first slide is what is about the programming. We all know, guys. You all guys come from a CS and IT background. I think so. Computer science background. So actually, we all know what is the programming, right? So programming is the not. It's a process of creating some instruction to tell a machine to perform several tasks, right? So programming can be done by using various programming languages, right? So programming is different from its languages. Okay, so the languages are some what tool to make a machine to do some certain task. Okay, so the languages like a Python, Java, C++, C, etc. These are all some programming tools or languages. Okay, so this is a short definition about programming. Okay, now what is a data structure actually? So in computer science, a data structure is the organization of several data. That's it. That is a storage of several data in particular order. Why we are storing those data? Why it is an essential part while handling a programming, while handling a real-time application? Because we can easily access or modify our data efficiently. Okay, so that is the important point while considering data structures. Okay, and more precisely, a data structure is a collection of data values actually, right? So it is we have lots of primary data types like integer, boolean, string, character, whatever it may be, right? So it's a particular collections of those values and some relationship among them also. Okay, so these are only the some basic idea about the data structure. Data structure is nothing but it's some storage of some specific elements, data. That's it. Why we are using means we can easily, efficiently, we can access and modify our data. That's it. Here's an elaborative explanation about the data structures. Right? So it's all about rendering the data elements in the terms of some relationship. Okay, so there is some relationship. There is some function will be going to happen. Then only we are using the data. Right. So that is the most important thing while considering the data structure. So for example, so we have some data which has a player name Virat and age 26. Okay. So here Virat is a string data type. We all know the primary data types like integer, string, character, boolean, and all. Like so here Virat is a string data type and 26 is the integer data type. Okay. So here we can organize this data as a record like player record. Here we are going to do a record called player record. Okay. So which will have both player name as well as his or her name. Age. Sorry, not name, age. Now we can collect and store players record in a file or database as a data structure. That's it. Okay. So we can collect the names as well as the age belongs to the specific person in the some several structured manner. So that is called data. This is a real time example for handling the data structure in my day to day life. Right. That's it. So why we are using this type of? We can easily access our data. That's it. Okay, without any confusion. So the types of data structures. Okay, so there are two types of data structure. One is linear and another one is non-linear. Okay, so in linear, sorry, wait just a minute. Yeah, in linear we have four kinds of data structures. One is array, and another one is stack, and the third one is queue, and the last one is linked list. Okay, so these are the beautiful data structure, linear data structures and all. Right. So what about the non-linear data structure? So non-linear data structures are trees and graphs. Okay. So I hope these terms are we are hearing day by day, right? Day to day life, we are seeing these words and all. We'll see how these words are related to a structure. So first, we have moved to linear data structure. The data structure where data elements are arranged in orderly. That is a linear. Exactly, that's a information. That's a definition for linear data structure. Okay, linear means some it is the things which are ordered arranged in particular order, right? So which is easy to accessing. That's it. So the linear data structure is nothing but all the elements are arranged sequentially or linearly, where the elements are attached to its previous as well as the next adjacent in a what is called linear data structure. That's it, right? So in linear data structure, a single level is involved. Okay, therefore we can traversing, we can do lots of we have do some operations in this linear data structures or not, right? So we will see how we are going to use the linear data structures. The first structure is the linear data structures is array, stack, queue, and linked list. Okay, we all know about these structures. The first structure is about array. Actually, what is array? We all heard this term called array. Okay, as well as we have used this array in C programming. Like my primary language is C programming in my schooling. So we all know array. What is that array? Except anyone knows?
It is a combination of, elements or data of the same type, sequence of.
Yeah,
A collection
yeah,
of
very good. Thank
homogeneous
you.
data.
Yeah, good, fine. So yeah, obviously it's correct. So I'll compare to the while consider the array is a data type. So guys, your definitions are very good, right? So actually, array is a collections of homogeneous as well as a particular data type, right? In data structure concept, we are using array as a different manner, according with that some specifications, which means arrays having the same data type, right? That's one important point. Fine. So yeah, array we are using the indexing method, right? So it all start from zero, right? So all the values will start from sorry, address values are start from zero indexing value. Is it clear? Fine. So the first by seeing this picture, you can easily understand the array length is 10. We have the array size is 10, right? So the value is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, etc. till 9 is the indices value. That's index value, right? My first index value is 0. And the values which present in the array is elements, right? So it may be string data type, char data type, or integer data type, boolean, whatever it may be, right? Okay, that is the array structure, basic structure of array. So in data structure in data structure concept, why we are using array actually? So array is a storage of some similar data types, right? So that actually array is a linear structure, okay? Instances, whatever it may be, whatever data we can store in arrays, the same data. That is point of array, the basic concept. Okay, this array structure of array. I think it is implemented in C language, right? So the type is integer. So the array name is array. So here I'm using array. So the size of array is 10, right? So these are the elements present in the array, the same type. Okay. So this is the basic diagram of array structure. So the structure is must important while reading anything. Okay, so we have to visualize anything using this structure. Okay, so I suggest you guys while reading a data structures and algorithm, right? This is very interesting topic. Some people are saying competitive programming is more tough while compared to developing, right? So absolutely it's not right. So we are in a versed in any particular programming language as well as the data structure algorithm. It is very highly useful for us to solve any real time problem like a Google, Microsoft, or whatever the which companies, we can easily solve the problems, right? So the particular thing that difficulty one is the way of learning these data structures and algorithms is important. Okay, so guys will take lots of stress to learning these structures and all. So we have to well versed in, we have to strong in the basics. Okay, so we have to imagine something. We study the array structure. We have to imagine the array structure in our mind. Okay, so then for that imagination only we can do lots of operations. We can do coding and all. Okay, so imagination is most important while reading a data structure algorithm. That is important. One thing I would like to share at the beginning. Okay, so yeah, we will move. So the basic operation in array. So the in all the data structures we have to do some operation. Yeah. So in basic operations in all the data structures we are using some we are do some operations, right? So traversing, inserting, deleting, searching, and updating. So we all know what is traversing actually. Traversing is nothing but just printing. That's it. We have printer. We have to print all the elements in the several structure. That's it. Inserting is nothing but we have insert adding new element to the structure. Deletion is nothing but deleting some values. Searching is nothing but we have to search some value in the particular indexing value. So if I want to search the number a, sorry, the value a at the position of 0, index position of 0 means it will, the compiler will give the exact value of 0 is a. That's it. This is the process of searching. So traversing is different from searching. Okay, different. And the last one is update. Updating somewhere I want to update the 0th position value a as a z. Okay, so we have give some several commands to our compiler to run, and it will update the exact value according to the index value in our array. Okay, so this is all the operations, basic operations we have done in the array structure. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So now
Yes,
we are
sir.
move on to, yeah, thank you. So now we are going to move something about the types of arrays. Don't confusing it, arrays and its types. Okay, now till now we have saw only array, and it's now we are going to see types. Okay, so now the first one is a one dimensional array, and the second one is multi-dimensional array. So the one dimensional array is nothing but we have, if now only we have saw the simple array is a one dimensional array. That's it. Okay, these are all the linear arrays. In each element it is separated by a single subscript, right? The elements are stored in consecutive memory location. This term is more important. So consecutive memory location actually. Consecutive memory location is what actually? So there is in our memory, the all the elements will be stored in some continuously stored. Okay, in some particular address. Okay, so if I want to store my name database, sorry, name data structure in array, all the names are stored in sequential manner, right? Now, for example, Ashwin is of my first name, which is stored in an index of 0, and its address name is ABC. Okay, so not ABC, 123, right? So 123. Now, second name is Arjun. So what it does in 234. So like that, it will continuously, the memory will be allocating some space to all the elements. So this is how the data will be stored in array actually. So that is called consecutive memory location actually. Okay. So here you can see the structure actually. So this is how we can what declare the array structure, array elements, like so a of 0, a of 1, whatever it may be, right? So up to a of n minus 1. This is actually one dimensional array. Now, what is a multi-dimensional array actually? So multi-dimensional arrays are called two-dimensional array. In it, each element is represented by two subscripts. Actually, you just imagine this as like a matrix. Okay, so matrix and this is like the same. We can in matrix mathematically we can use matrix, right? In matrix we can access any particular element by using its array, sorry, row as well as column address. Right? The same like that we are using. We can access any element, right, in array by using that matrix notation. IJ1, A of IJ, B of JK, like that one. This is a multi-dimensional array. But why we are using this multi-dimensional array instead of using a one-dimensional array? So they have lots of relational data, right? So now like in the employed, sorry, not employed. No, it's a college, university, university data structure. So in particular department, you can CSC department, roll number. This is number 1, the first person. So he's also having the attendance detail, library management access, as well as whatever it may be, right? So the management will save his or her particular details in this structure only. Okay, so some relationship like that. Okay, we can access the particular thing by using this methodology called matrix methodology, like IJ, row column methodology. This is how we can access any element in the multi-dimensional array. Okay, that's it. You need not to worry about anything. You need not to complicate anything. You need not to confuse with this. Okay, that's it. I would like to say. So, what are the applications of the array structure actually? So, it is implemented to mathematical vectors as well as the matrices. Okay, so the major application is that only. So also we can implement lots of databases. So no, sorry, lots of data structure by using this array structure. like list, heap, hash tables, dequeues, etc. Okay, these are some applications of arrays, right? So till now we have completed the array structure. Anyone have any doubt in this array?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Array
So guys,
always
please, if you have, yeah,
I mean, arrays always have to be like definite size, right?
yes,
Variable.
yeah. Actually, array will be if in my programming. Just imagine that in my programming, I will like I will initialize declare some size of my array like this. Wait, a of 0 or a of 10. They have some structure. Okay, so size. Just a minute. Yeah. So you can see the size is 10. Okay, only 10 elements only we can be able to store in that array. Understand not? Okay. So this is actually size. Okay, we have declared the sizes and all while running our code. Okay. So this is how we can all the elements are stored in array according to the sizes only. Guys, and the next structure is linked list. So actually, what is linked list? Linked list is nothing but it does not have a continuous memory location. Okay, so this is also linear data structure, but it does not have a continuous memory location. Memory location is nothing but memory address. Okay, so why we are using the linked list actually instead of using array? Why we are using linked list? Anyone knows the meaning? Anyone knows the answer?
We can extend.
So for arrays, we'll have to have a continuous memory allocation. If we do not have such a thing, then we can use linked list. It can be stored in various locations.
Yeah, good. It's fine. So in array, we want to just we want any element we want to add any new element in a particular position. Like in a fifth position, we have had a particular element called O, right? So what happens means the memory location will be added. It will be increasing. Okay, if I declare 10, what happens means it will be raised to 11. Right? Either we can do deletion operation or else we can do insertion operation. Whatever the operations we have done in array, right? So the array size is not constant there. So it will be either it will be raises or it will be reduced. That is one disadvantages of using array. So what happens while raising and reducing the size and memory location means it will take a lot of space complexities and all. We will see that later. Okay, so the memory size will be take a lot of space complexities. So this to overcome this issue, we can using the linked list. Okay, so linked list is not nothing but yeah, this is a structural component with having a node as well as a head, node as well as tail. So this is a structure of a linked list actually. So all the elements will be stored according with the pointing to next node actually. So the pointer is important. The pointer is nothing but the address to the next node. Understand now? Fine. So this is a node. The first node is a head always. The last. Okay. So the elements, the B element. This is this area. This next right. The data is A, and the next is a address to the B. Okay. So B is data value, and this part is address to the next C. So this is how the linked list gets linked with each other to a pointing address to other. Okay. So yeah. Why we are using this linked list means so to overcome the structure the issues of array, we are using linked list because there is no any disturbance between other nodes and memories and all. Okay, so this is the most important advantages of using the linked list instead of using array. Okay, so there are some types of linked list. The one is single linked list, double linked list, and the circular linked list. So what is double linked list actually? So the first one is we already saw the link single linked list. Single linked list is nothing but the linked list which address to point to one direction only. Okay. So in double linked list, the addresses will be shared with double direction. One is the next, the current node is head now. Okay. So this node will be address pointing to the next node. Okay. So the next node is A here. This next node having the A node having the addresses of the previous head node. Okay. So this is actually a double linked list. So why we are using this double linked list means if I want to delete any value means unfortunately if any value get deleted means there is no problem for any previous arrays and previous nodes and all. Okay, by using this address we can easily identify the data and all. Okay, so this is more advantages of the double linked list. By the picture you can easily understand how the data are stored in this double linked list manner. Right. Second one is circular linked list. What is circular linked list actually? So it is either be a double linked list or it will be a null value. You can implement a circular linked list by making use of single or double linked list. Actually, this is a double linked list. So in double linked list, the last value, the address of the last node will be pointing towards the header node actually. Okay, it will be circularly linked with each other. Okay, so the disadvantages of this using the circular linked list is what means if you want to do a traversing operation means there is no endpoint, there is no any stopping point on all. It will be iterates to each other unless we have given a return statement 0 or 0. It will be rotating each other. It will be iterates infinitely. Okay, so this is disadvantages of circular linked list actually. Okay, so this is all about the linked list. So what are the operations we can done through linked list or all? We can usually display all the elements, which means we can easily traverse all the elements which are present in the linked list, and we can insert any elements in searching and updating as well as we can sort the elements and all. Right. The basic functional applications are we can implement the stack and queue data structure by using the linked list and all. Okay. So performing arithmetic operation on long integer. We can also perform some arithmetic operations. Okay. So and also we can evaluate some polynomials by storing the values constant in the node part of that in linked list. So we can also represent it by sparse matrices and all. So these are some functional applications of linked list. So here the real-time application. Okay, so these are some real-time applications. First one is train. We all know train. So here each coach is connected to each previous and next coach. The next one is image VR. So in our gallery we have a image VR. So they have a previous as well as the next images are linked. Hence can be accessed by next and previous button. Okay, these are some real-time applications like previous and next button web browsers and the music players. So these are some real-time applications which we have in a day-by-day life, right? Yeah, yeah. So guys, anyone have any doubt in linked list?
No, sir.
Yeah,
No, sir.
fine. So okay, fine. The next structure is about stack. Okay, so the stack structure, it's also a linear structure which follows a particular order called last in first out. Just imagine that we are all use the sack right and sack race we are using some we all are used to some sack and all right. So just imagine like that only. So we are putting some boxes in that stack. Okay. So and we are want to take some stack in middle part. What we have to do? We just not want to keep our our hand in the middle portion of the stack and we not take like that. Okay, we just open we can take all the boxes in the first step also always. Okay, so like that mechanism only the stack structure follows. By the see this GIF image, you can easily understand that. So what are the elements which we have inserted the last element, it will be removed first always. Okay, if you want to take any elements in the middle part or bottom part of the stack. Understand or not? So this is a simple example as well as a simple definition of the stack structures. Okay, we will see its applications and all. So what are the operations we could perform in the stack structure? One is a push operation. The first operation is push. Pushing is nothing but we can adding some elements in the stack. Okay, so the function called push. It's useful to add some elements in the stack. Okay, so the condition is called overflow. So overflow is nothing but if I want to push all the elements in the stack. So I have before that I have declared the stack element which have 10 elements. Okay, the programmer or developer can declare that the stack elements is 10. Okay, so the user will save the 11th element. What it happens is it is not stored in the stack structure and it will be overflow. So that condition is called, that scenario is known as overflow. Okay, so that is condition, that is the condition called overflow condition actually. Okay, so nothing but in stack we are using the push and pop operations. Okay, so in push operations the all the elements are we have pushed into the stack. That's it. So while handling the push condition we have make some reminder in our mind whether it is an overflow or not. Okay, that's it. Next condition is a pop. So popping is nothing but just removing or deleting. That's it. So like we have using the pop function to do this to do this operation. The items are popped in the reversed order in which they are pushed. Right. So if I want to delete all the elements, first what I do, it will be reversely popped. Deletes. Okay. So the condition here also we have one condition called underflow actually. So what is underflow? So underflow is nothing but there is no element in our stack. Okay. I want to delete some elements in stack means what? It will raise the underflow condition. That's it. So there is a any elements will may occur there only if there is any elements occur then only I can able to what delete some element. But if there is no element present means what happens? There is the underflow condition happen. These are some basic conditions of pop operations. Okay. What are the applications of the stack structure means? First one is towers of Hanai, balancing of symbols, infix and postfix conversion, histogram problem, nqueen problem, and sudoku problem. So these are some important applications, functionality applications of stack structure. So what are some real-time applications? So these are some real-time applications called shipment in cargo services. We have some shipment and all. So in plates in a tray, stack of coins, stack of drawers, sending of trains in railway yard. So these are some real-time applications. So I'll coming to learn about stack structures. Right. So guys, anyone have any doubt in a stack structure?
No, it's clear.
Yeah. So next we are going to see about yeah.
If suppose for some program or some question we are asked to remove some intermediate, suppose there are 5 elements, we have to remove second or something like that. So since
Okay.
we are only able to remove from the top, so we have to remove each and every and then store it in somewhere and then remove the second element.
Yeah, obviously. That is actually called this is algorithm. Okay. So if you want to access, if you want to remove any element, or if you want to get any element from the middle of the stack, what we have to do, the only one operation is last and first out only. We have to remove all the elements which have present lastly, reverse manner. Okay, we have to pop all the elements in reverse manner, then only we get the certain element. Okay, that's it. Okay, so this is a basic operation of the stack. Okay, so I hope are you clear?
Yes.
The next structure is about a queue. I know what is queue, the term we have used in day by day life, queue. The queues are actually linear structure which follows a particular order called FIFO. That is first in, first out. So the element which are pushed in first in the queue will come first. That's it. Okay. So that is actually called queue. In this diagram, you can easily understandable. Okay. So here we can see data elements. Okay, the queue structure is different from stack structure. Okay, don't confuse with that. So data elements, the DQ, NQ. So we will see it later. So NQ means nothing but we have adding something in the backside of the stack. DQ is nothing but we have deleting something, not something, deleting element in the front of the stack for a queue. Okay, so this is actually called first in and first out manner. Okay, So the thing which we have keep reminded in mind is back side is here and the front side is here. We can see it's a back or rear, okay, whatever it may be, right? So this is a basic thing on queue. So what are the two operations we could perform in the queue operation is NQ and DQ. So what is NQ? So NQ is nothing but we have add any elements in the rear part of the queue. That's it. That is NQ. Okay, what are the elements we have added in a queue? That all the elements will be added by the place of rear part only. So that function is known as NQ function. Okay. So next one is DQ. DQ is nothing but deleting something, right? Some elements. So where we can delete our elements mean the front part of the queue. That's it. So actually this is a front part and this is a rear part. Rear part. Okay, so we can delete the element in the front of the queue. That's it. This function is known as DQ. Right? Yeah. So these are the two important major functions we could always perform in the queue operations. So the types of queues, there are four types of queue. One is a simple queue and the another one is a circular queue, double-ended queue as priority queue. So simple queue is we can see now only we have see the simple queue. Now we are going to see about circular queue. The circular queue is nothing but all the the front part as well as the rear part will connect to each other. That's it. Okay, it will be like a circle manner. Okay. So by the definition, we can say each node is connected to next node in sequentially. Okay. So the last node pointer is also connected to the first node address only. In front, we have 0th position 10 value. The rear value, we have 4th position 50. So the values are connected to each other. That's it. This is about circular queue. Now, what is a double-ended queue? So in double-ended queue is nothing but we can do the NQ DQ operation both sides, both front and rear sides. That is called double-ended queue. So the queue have both double-ended to perform the double operations, both operations. Not right. So here also in the front side also have done deletion as well as the insertion. In rear side also have done insertion as well as deletion operation. Okay, an operation from both ends of the queue. Okay, this is all about double-ended queue. So the next type of queue is priority queue. So in priority queue, all things are happen when the main function is to delete the elements. Deleting function is the more important while talking about priority queue now. Okay, so how it can delete the elements, that is important. So what is priority queue? Actually nothing but it will be check the priority of the element which we could delete. Okay, if I want to delete the element in the front part, it will check the priority. Priority is what which based means order, the great ascending order only. Okay, if a 5 is greater than 3 means it will be delete the 5 first. 3 is greater than 2 means it will delete the 3 next. That's it. This is how the priority queue is works. Okay. Now these are some applications of queue structure. So we all used a printer, right? So inkjet printer, whatever printer. So actually what happens in the printer function? Printer function we are using day by day life to print some papers and all, right? So what happens, it is actually based upon the queue structure only. If a user if you use a print two or three pages, what happens if I send one page first, it will print first, second page will print second, third page will print third, right? The basic mechanism is performed in the printer only, right? The second example is round robin scheduling technique. Actually this is come from OS concept. Guys, I hope you guys know something about think in operating system. If it is no means no problem, you will learn in future. Fine. So in round robin scheduling, it's an algorithm that is used for CPU to perform in several tasks in our system. That's it. So it is also it is also a scenario based of queue only, queue structure only. Okay. The third one is customer services. Okay, in the railway reservation system, all will what these softwares and applications all run and according to the queue structure only. These are some applications of queues, and some real-time applications are queue of people such as any service point or ticketing. So like data ticket booking, these things are not, and a queue of processes in operating system, right? So queue of packets in data communication. So actually this comes from networking concept. In networking, we all know the data layers, which comes to 7 layers. In data link layer, all the packets is nothing but our messages will be transmitted to the user, the client machine, right? So how our message, the exact messages is how it will be printed in the client machine orderly. So that's actually based upon the queue structure. Okay. So the last one is the queues of airplane waiting and landing instruction. In airport, we all see the airplanes are landing according to the queue structure only. Okay, so these are some of the real applications. That's it. Yeah, guys, I hope any doubt in queue structure. This, till now we have completed our linear data structures, right? Any doubts in linear data structure?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the difference between double-ended queue and array? Like in double-ended queue, also we can perform functions from both front and rear. Like there's no difference between both of the sides. And in arrow also we can perform function from both the sides.
No, in array we have performed the functions in the particular like a particular thing, uh, which means particular structure, right? So if I want to in array, if I want to access any element or if I do something inserting or deleting, what happens? We have using some indexing value there, right? So if we want to access, if we want to delete some element in a particular index called seventh index, the elements is z. Okay. So if you want to delete that elements, it will delete that element. After deleting, what happens? The elements will be come to be, what swaps. Swaps are reduced. Memory location will be reduced. Understand? Or
Yeah, I
in
get.
double-ended queue, yeah,
Thank you.
it is clear. Or I want to, yeah.
No, it's
So
clear now.
any else? Yeah, fine. Any else? Any more else?
Is there any advantage of using the circular queue over?
Can you please show the priority queue slide?
Which queue?
Priority.
Yes. Yeah. What doubt? Any doubt in this? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, thanks. No doubt. Yeah.
Yes, sir, it's clear. You can
Guys,
continue.
anyone have any doubt in linear structures?
I had a
Please free
doubt
to
in
Sir,
the
ask.
can we
circular queue.
perform sorting in stack and queue?
Yeah.
About the circular queue, does it have any advantage over the queue, the normal queue which we use?
Yeah, yes, obviously. In normal queue, we have done only the NQ operation. Okay. So in circular queue, there is no need to do anything and all. So all the elements will be present in only a circular increments. There is no any memory loss and all. Not memory loss means what? In a contiguous memory loss and all. Okay. So the each node is connected to next node only. So we can easily access any elements by using the index value. Okay. So it is also like as a array structure only, but all the elements are connected to each other. Okay. So if I delete any element, if I want to delete a particular 20, okay. So what happens when the 30, the 2 and 0, the index value is 0 and 2 will be connected. The 2 will be changed as a 1. Okay. So this is how the memory will be allocated to each other. If I delete any element, if I want to add any element, like if I want to add a 25 between 20 and 30, so what happens? The 2 will be comes to 25. Okay, so it will be allocated, reallocate the memory will be. This is how we can do operations in circular queue. Anyone doubt? Anyone have any doubt? Yes, I hope all clear in this.
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now we are going to see about the non-linear data structures. So what is the non-linear data structures? So actually the basic definition about the non-linear data structure is there is no any order. That's it. That's it. Actually, the elements will not stored in a particular order. That's it. The data structure where data items are not organized sequentially is called a non-linear data structure. In other words, the data elements of the non-linear data structure could be connected to more than one element to reflect the relationship among them. Okay, so if we can say there is no any connection between elements, there is some connection between some elements, but there are some unordered methods. That is actually non-linear data structure. We will see later. All the data elements in non-linear data structure cannot be traversed in single run. Okay, this has happened. Okay, we cannot do any operation easily. We cannot do a traverse operation in non-linear data structures. And all. So this is about non-linear data structure. So what are the data structures are available in non-linear means graphs and trees. Okay. What about the graph structure? We all know about the graph. So we all seen a pictorial representation of it. It's a pictorial representation of any data and all. Like that's only graph structure. A graph data structure is a collection of nodes that have a data and are connected to other nodes. Okay, so it is actually a relation of vertices and edges. Okay, the edges, the node is also always called vertices, and the edges also always called path between nodes. That is known as edge. This is how we can represent the graphs. So here on real-time application. Now Facebook, we are all using a Facebook in day-to-day life, right? So how the Facebook algorithm works actually? So which data structures are actually used in Facebook? So it is a graph data structure. Okay, so in Facebook application, all our details will be connected as shown as a particular vertices. My profile and my messages, my notification, my posts and all, like these things and all arranged as a graph type. No, sorry, node type, vertices type. Okay, the path will be established all the relationship between among us to our notification messages and all, our profile to all things. Every relationship is an edge from one node to another. Whether you post a photo, join a group, like a page, etc. A new edge is created for that relationship. Okay, so whatever things we have used in our Facebook application, the new edges will be created. Okay, so this is how the graph structure will be. Okay, the Facebook application will be done using. All the Facebook is then a collection of these nodes and edges. This is because of the Facebook uses a graph data structure only. So we are using a graph data structure to store the data. Okay, this is a simple example of a graph structure. So the structure of the graph. Okay, so this is the structure of the graph. So this the 0, 1, 2, and 3 on all the vertices called vertices, and the edges are 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0 to 3. The lines it's called a path. Paths are edges. Okay. So in mathematically we can implement this by B comma E. Okay, the vertices have a 0, 1, 2, 3, and E called E will having a connection between 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0 to 3, and 1 to 2. Like this is how we can represent the graph structure. Okay. Terminology of graphs. Actually, while speaking about a graph structure, so there are some terminologies. So one is adjacency and path and directed graph. So adjacency is nothing but here in this picture we can see 0 is connected to 0 and 1 are related, right? So 1 and 2 is related, 2 and 0 is related, 0 and 3 is related, but 2 and 3 is not related, right? Not connected. The edges, there is no any edge or path between these two vertices, 2 and 3, right? So this is called adjacency. All the elements will be connected to each other. That is called adjacency. Now, what is path? Path is nothing but this value 1 to 2. There is have one path. 1 to 0, we have one path. 0 to 2, we have one path. Like that, this is known as path. Okay. So what is the directed graph? Actually, directed graph is nothing but it will be specified by using some arrow mark and all. Arrow. like if the path will goes to 1 to 0. Okay, this is an undirected graph actually. There is no any specifications called there is no any arrow marks between path arrow marks here in this graph. So this is called as undirected graph. Okay, so in directed graph we have some arrow marks. Okay, so vectors have which denotes as to the path going from 1 to 0, the path going to 2 to 0, the point go to 0 to 3. Like this, we have some. This is called a directed graph. Okay, that's it. So these are some terminology of graph structure. So now adjacency matrices and how we can represent the graph structure in mathematically means by using the adjacency matrix and matrix method as well as a list method. Okay, so this is how we can represent any graph structure. The first one is adjacency matrix. So in adjacency matrix, we can see in this picture in the left side, right side of picture, 0 0 0 1 0 2. So like some zeros and ones are available in the box, right? So actually, the one indicates the path, true path. The zero indicates that there is no path. That's it. So like for example, if I'm using 1 comma 2, the row is 1, the 2 is column. Right? So 1 comma 2 is that there is some path that is indicates by 1. Understand or not? So in 2 comma 2 there is no path which is indicated by 0. So this is how we can represent the graph structure in the matrix methodology. So the next one is adjacency list. Adjacency list is a combination of the list and array, linked list and array. Like here we can see 0 1 2 3, and here also we have 1 0 1 0. So there is a 1 0 0 0 something, and here have some elements, right? So in in this zeroth index we have some connection between them. In first position of the array we have some, there is no any connection between the nodes, right? So between the second position there is no any connection, the third there is no any connection. This is how the list we can represent the graph structure in the list methodology, right? So this is all about the adjacency list is efficient in terms of storage because we only need to store the values from the edges only. Okay, so what are the operation we could perform in a graph means there are 4 types of operations. The first one is check if an element is present in the graph. So the first element, the element is presenting or not. This is the first condition we have is checking the graph. And the second one is graph traversal. We can traversal the graph, adding elements, finding the path of one vertex to another, finding path actually. Okay, so these are some operations we could perform in the graph data structure. So these are some types of graphs. There are 15 types of graphs. The first one is a finite, infinite, trivial, simple graph, multi-graph, null graph, complete graph, pseudo graph, rectangular, biparty, weighted, digraph, subgraph, connected, as cyclic graph. So these are some types of graphs. Okay. So first one is what is a finite graph? In finite graph, there have a finite number of edges as well as vertices. Okay. In infinite graph, a graph is said to be infinite if it has an infinite number of vertices as well as infinite number of edges. There is no any finite here. Finite number of vertices as well as what edges there. So what is a trivial graph? There is no any what paths in the graph. That is known as trivial graph. So simple graph is nothing but which does not contain more than one edge between the pair of vertices. A simple railway tracks connecting a different cities in an example of simple graph. So simple graph is nothing but there is only one connection between all the nodes. That is called simple graph. Multi-graphs here, any graph which contains some parallel edges but does not contain any self-loop. Self-loop is nothing but first before going to say multi-graph, we have to know the term called self-loop. Self-loop is nothing but for example, in vertices V2, there is a path called divider to itself. Okay, so there is a path itself is a V2 to V2. That is the one path edge. So that is called a self loop. We will see it like that. Okay, so there is no any condition in this multigraph. That is called a multigraph. What is null graph? The null graph, a graph of order n and the size 0 There is a graph which contain an n number of vertices, but do not contain any edge. There is no any edges in the graph. It's known as null graph. A complete graph will have all the vertices will be connected to all the edges. Like in the second picture, you can easily see A is connected to D, A is connected to B, A is connected to C. Like that only all the edges are connected to all the vertices. Pseudograph and pseudograph. A graph G is the self loop is known as a pseudograph. That's it. Okay, so the graph which having the self loop is known as pseudograph. So in the rectangular graph, simple graph is said to be rectangular when all vertices of a graph are equal degree. Okay, so every graph will have an equal degree. All complete graphs are regular, but vice versa is not possible. So it will be regular graph, but the degree must be equal. All the graphs must be. Okay, there is no any a lower degree to one angle and a higher degree to another angle. All the level of the graph will be equal. That's it. What is weighted graph? Weighted graph is nothing but the graph. It will have some elements, some value to each node. So actually, we are using the weighted graphs for real-time applications. Okay, like more algorithms and all. Okay, so this is actually called a weighted graph. So now, what is called digraph? So in digraph, a graph G is equal to V is the mapping F function. But every edge maps onto some ordered pairs of vertices is called a digraph. It is also called directed graph. We can also say we are already saw this term directed graph. So just see this image. We have a V4 is directed to V5, right? Not V5 is directed to V4, right? Only V4 is directed to V5, and V2 is directed to V3. So this is called a directed graph or digraph. What is a subgraph actually? Subgraph is nothing but there is a, if I want to delete or if I separate all the elements, all the components of this graph, it will be produce some output. That's it. So it will produce some shapes and all. So if I cut this graph like V4 to V2 at the vertical corner, it will be just separate as a triangular shape, right? So in E7 V5 to V2, if I want to cut that, it will go to some shape like that. If I want the graph which contains all the graphs inside, that's it. So that is known as subgraph actually. What is a cyclic graph actually? There is no any endpoint here. Okay, so that is known as cyclic graph. A graph G consisting of n vertices. There is lots of vertices, and if n is greater than 3, that is a V1, V2, V3, etc. to Vn, and the edges is V1 to V2, V2 to V3. Likewise, or also completely cyclic connected to all the each other like circular list, like that only. It will be connected to each other, circular manner. Like that only cyclic graph will be occur. Like this is called applications of graph. Just a minute. Yeah, guys. So actually, this is called applications. These are some applications of graph structure. So in computer science, we are using in the networking systems and a data organization system, computational systems, and all. In physics chemistry, we are using the graph. Graph theory is used for study of molecules and chemistry of like that. This application we are using. Sociology, we can use in social science. We can using sociology. Mathematics, we are using drawing diagrams of geometry and all. In biology, we are using some for conservation efforts and all. We are using the graph data structure, not a data structure, graph application. That's it. So what are some real-time applications of graph? So these are some real-time applications. One is a social graph, knowledge graph, recommendation engines, and path optimization algorithm. So in social graphs, we already saw the Facebook graph of API and all, right? So in a knowledge graph, we have saw the Google knowledge graph and all. In recommendation engine, we have local graph API. So these are things and all we have using in day by day life. right? Everyday life, every application we are using the graph data structures now. Path optimization algorithms. In this is nothing but a path optimization algorithm is nothing but we have uh, consider that there is lots of vertices available. Okay, so actually this algorithm is the shortest travels salesman person algorithm. Okay, so which path is shortest path? Which value is shortest while compared to using all the nodes? So like that, this algorithm it actually works according to the graph structure only. Okay, so they, for example, Google Maps, flight network, GPS systems and all. So these systems work according to the graph structure only. So guys, till now we have completed the graph data structure. So anyone have any doubts in that? Hello.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Actually, graph data structure we are using in a global algorithms and all. We have using this structure as a global algorithms. So lots of algorithms we have using this structure only. So there's lots of advantages over this graph structure and all. Like so, this is all about a graph. Anyone? No one have any doubts? Fine. So next we are move on towards a beautiful structure called trees. Yes. So in tree, this is actually a structure. Okay. So this is actually non-linear. There is no any what order in here and hierarchical structures. Okay. So there is a connection, but there is no any order. Okay. So now we will see about structures. Okay. Then we'll easily understand what is exactly trees. It is. Before that, why we are using tree data structure? In other data structure like arrays, list, stack, queue. Okay. So they will store the data sequentially, that is continuously. In order to perform any operation in a linear data structure, the time complexity increases with the increase of data size also. So time complexity, space complexity, we will see those things all in later in the session. In this session, okay. So those two complex in algorithmic analysis, we are using those terms and all. Okay. So for using this linear data structure, it is highly complicated to analyze the complexities of time and space. So instead of that, we are using the tree structure. Okay, so different tree structures all allow quicker and easy access to data as it is a non-linear data structure. Understand or not? So we can easily access any type of any complicated values in several applications by using the tree data structure. For example, the best example is the what file explorer. This is a good example of tree data structure and all. Right? So we can easily access any particular any complicated data in any folder by using this tree data structures only. Okay. So in yeah, we will move on to about tree terminology. So this is actually a structure, right? So in tree will have a node and edge. In graph we will have a vertices and edge. In tree we will have a node and edge. Okay, a node is an entity that contains a key or value of and pointer to its child node. Okay, so actually the nodes is nothing but this is a data element actually, data storage part. So all the data will be belongs to tree will be stored in the node part only. The edges will describe the path, the relationship among the each and every node. That's it. We all know this about in graph structure also, right? So next, root. Actually, root is nothing but it is the topmost node of the tree. Actually, root is the header part of the header node of the tree structure. This one, the one is the root here. The 2 and 3 are the parent. Okay, the 4 and 5 is the child. That's okay. So this is a basic terminology of the water tree structure. Height of the node, depth of the node. So the height of the node, depth of the node is nothing. The height of the node is number of edges from the node to the deepest leaf. The depth of the node is nothing but number of edges from the root of the node. So the depth is nothing but how the depth will going, how the children nodes are going elaborately throughout the single application. That is talking about depth. Height is nothing but the levels of each node. So actually in the previous node, previous structure, we have three levels. The one is the root is the one for level one, the 2 and 3 is level 2, and the 4 and 5 is level 3. Okay, so this is known as high tunnel. This is a basic terminology of tree sector. Here we are also having some types of trees. So what are the type of trees? So first one is binary tree. Okay. So second one is binary search tree. The third one is AVL tree, and the last one is deep. So these are some basic types of tree data structure. Okay. So we will see about binary tree now. So what is a binary tree exactly? A binary tree is a structure in which each parent node having at most only two children only. So look here, in this diagram, this is a root node. This root node have only the two child node for them. But it will be the 2 and 3 act as a parent node for 2 act as a parent node for 4 and 5. Like that, this tree will have at most two children for the parent. That's it. So this is known as binary tree. Right. So there is some types are also been in a binary tree. Like full binary tree. The first one is full binary tree. The full binary tree is a special type of binary tree in which every parent node, internal node, has either two or no child. So there is a actually this also have a every child node. There is at most in two child node must be have. Okay, so the parent node will consist of two child node only. So don't know any one or two or less than two, greater than two or less than two. There is no any condition there. Only exactly two child node will be present in the full binary tree. Perfect binary tree. In perfect binary tree, every internal node has exactly two child nodes, and all the leaf nodes are at the same level also. So in this tree, we will using the term called level, same level. Okay, that is important. So the here we have monitored the binary tree condition as well as the level of the tree. So there is no any independent inconsistency of levels or not. Okay, so here we can see the picture. All the childs are equally separated, right? Equally allocated in all the levels. One here also one, here two, here also all they are equally balanced. Like that only, this is known as a perfect binary tree. But in the last binary tree, the root node one having two children, and the two having two children, and the five having two children, but there is no any children present in three. So this is the normal simple binary tree actually. Okay, but in perfect binary tree, all the levels will be satisfied. That's it. This is a major difference between single or perfect binary tree. That's it. What is a complete binary tree actually? A complete binary tree is just like a full binary tree. Okay, but with two major differences. What are the differences? All every leaf must be completely filled. Okay, so there is no any imbalance of element there. Every leaf level must be completely filled. All the leaf elements must lean towards the left. The last leaf elements might not have a right sibling. That is, a complete binary tree does not have a to be a fully binary tree. Here we have a see that two one we have in one there is a two nodes 2 and 3, but in 2 we have only 4 and 5, but in 3 we have only 6. There is no any other elements in 3. So only one element present in the 3. So this is known as complete binary tree. Okay, and the next one is pathological tree. So in pathological or degenerate tree, so here you can see this picture. So elements from root node 1, there is some node called child node called 2. So here 2 is now parent node. Here some child node called 3. So now the 3 is now parent node. Its child node is 4. So this is a pathological order with which 3 having a single child either left or right. One, it must have all the child node either left or right hand side. That's it. Not all the equal side. So this is called a degenerate or pathological. Now skewed binary tree. So in skewed binary tree, there is a It's also like a pathological tree in which the tree is either dominated by a left node or right node. It may be left or maybe right. Okay, thus there is two types of skewed binary tree. One is left skewed binary tree and one is right skewed binary tree. Right. So 1, 2, and 3. Here we have 1, 3, 7, 8, 9. Here also we have 1 tree. It is in left side. It is in left right side. So this structure is known as skewed binary tree structure. How we can represent a binary tree? So like this only. So this is a structure of a binary tree. Okay. So here we have a root node. In root node we have a data. Okay. So left and right. So in left side we have some child, and right side also we have some child node. So in that also we have something like in previous nodes. So this is a basic representation of the binary tree. Okay. This is how the tree structure will be. Like binary tree structure will be like we. That's it. What are the applications of the binary tree? It is easy to quick access of data. Okay, we can easily access data, and it is used for more router algorithms. In networking concept, we are using the routers and all. So that for that algorithms, we are using this binary tree to implement the heap data structures and all. These are some real time applications of some functional application of binary tree. Now we are going to see about binary search tree. The next topic is binary search tree. Now, the binary search tree is a data structure that is quickly allows us to maintain a sorted list of numbers. Okay, so we have lots of sorted numbers, so we can easily access the uh, sorted list of numbers. Access, it will be gives the access to allow a sorted list of numbers and all. It is called a binary tree because each tree node has a maximum of 2 children. It is also having the maximum of 2 children only. It is called a search tree because it can be used to search for the presence of a number. Okay. So the properties that separates the binary search tree from the regular binary tree. All nodes of left subtree are less than right, root node. All the nodes of the right subtree are more than the root node. So please keep this in mind while talking about binary search tree. The 2 points are more important. The left node is lesser than the parent node. Okay, and the right node is greater than the parent node. This is the more important terms while we consider the binary search tree. Okay, so this is a representation of the binary search tree. So here you can see in this picture 8 the right 3 and 10 is a child node of the root node, and 1 and 6 is the child node of the third node, the node called 3, right? So this 4 and 7 is a child node for node 6. Okay, so like that also in 10, 8, the right hand side of 8 is 10 value, the left hand side of 8 is 3, right? So the leftmost is smaller value, the rightmost is larger value. Okay, so this is actually called a binary search tree, right? So in the second image you can see the sixth element, the sixth node will having a 2. Actually, for seeing this by taking a node 6, it is correct. Actually 2 is less than 6, but 7 is greater than 6. Okay, it is correct. But while considering the 3 as a parent node, it is wrong actually, because it is the element is present in right side of the 3, right? So it is wrong. That is called binary. Okay. So now we are going to see about AVL tree. So AVL tree is nothing but Adelson Wells scale and Landis. That's the full name. So why we are using AVL tree means the AVL tree have a special functions called it will be what modify itself. Okay, there is no need to any modify by the programmer and all. So it will be self-balancing binary tree. AVL tree is a self-balancing binary tree in which each node maintains an extra information called a balance factor, whose value is either 1, 0, and +1. So -1, 0, and +1. Okay, so actually it will be easily it will be allocating the memory allocation by itself by using the condition called a balance factor. So actually we will see it. What is actually balance factor? Balance factor is nothing but the difference between the height of the left subtree and the height of the right subtree. So we have to take some difference between the height left subtree to right subtree. Okay, So according to that only, this is known as actually the getting answer is the balance factor. Okay. So by using this that value only, it will be changed according to that position or not. It will be modified itself. That's it. So this is actually called a balance factor, and this is called a AVL tree. Understand or not? So what are the applications of this? We can we can use indexing in the larger databases, records in databases. Okay, in databases we are using large number of records, right? So we all know the indexing purposes of, okay. So we are easily done the indexing in this database and all. And we have searching a large database. We can using this, we can do the search operation in the databases which have the large number of amount of records. So these are all some applications for real AVL tree. Now they are going to say about B tree. Yeah. So in B tree, actually it is a special type of self-balancing search tree in which each node can contain more than one key. Understand that each node can contain more than one key and can have more than two children. If there is no any condition called exactly the parent node contains the exact two children. No, there is no any condition like that. So actually the node will contain say more than two, not more than two, more than one. Okay, the child will also have more than two. Understand? It is generalized form of binary search tree actually. So it is called it is also known as the highest balance MB tree. The term which specifies this tree is called as height. Sorry, not a highest, it's a height balance MB tree. Okay, so in this picture you can easily see 24, 20, 40. So there is a node contains two elements. Okay, so and child node of this parent node is three elements 10, 30, sorry, 30, 33, 50, 60. So this is actually three elements here. Okay, so by in 10, while seeing 10, there is a two elements. While seeing 33, having 25, 28, 31, and 35. Right. So 50, 60, we have the 45, 55, and 65. So here also we have maintained the order called the smaller elements, the small values will be present in the left side and the larger value will be present in the right side of the node. Okay, we have to maintain that condition in this B tree also. Okay, but the one advantage is this, here we are using more than one node and we have using more than two child nodes or not. Okay, this is the basic advantages of the B tree. Why we are using B tree actually? The need of B tree arose with a rise in the need for lesser time of accessing a physical storage media like a hard disk. The secondary storage devices are slow with a larger capacity. Okay, so there was a need for such types of data structures that minimize the disk access. Okay, so it actually is mostly useful for accessing the disk. Okay, hardware disk. Other data structures such as binary tree, AVL tree, red black tree, something and all can store only one key in one node. But in B tree, we can store two nodes, two values in two nodes. Right. So this is one advantage. However, B tree can store many keys in a single node and can have multiple child nodes. Okay. So there is no any condition called only the parent node contains two at most two child nodes. There is no any condition in B tree. We can use lots of child nodes. The one single parent node will contain lots of child nodes. Okay. This is decreases the height significantly, allowing fast disk access. So this allows us to access the disk fastly. Okay. So this is why we are using the B tree. What are the applications of B tree actually? Databases and file systems. So we are using the databases and file systems. We are using this. We all know tree structures. We are using the data structures. Sorry, and tree structure in file system. We are using this tree structure. So especially in file system, we are using a B tree structure only, as well as databases also to store blocks of data in a secondary storage devices and all, and multi-level indexing. In databases, we are using a multi-level indexing concept and all. So for that purpose also, we are using B tree applications. So these are some real-time applications of B tree. Yeah, guys. Till now we have completed our data structure concept. Under that, we have completed now tree structures. So anyone have any doubt in tree structure? Please ask me.
I had a question about binary search.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule that
Can you-
was said about binary search tree, does it apply for binary tree as well? I mean, why are they different? That greater and less than rule?
Actually, like in a binary tree, right, the basic structure of binary tree is there is a only one node, sorry, one parent node, one value present in a parent node. Okay, at most they have only two child nodes. Okay, this is a condition. There is no any condition called the smallest value present and left. There is the largest value present right. So there is no need for that because we are using some applications. Smaller, we are using this binary tree for smaller applications or smaller algorithms and all. But in a binary search tree and B tree, we are using the conditions called only the smaller value will be present in the left hand side and the larger node will be present in the right hand side. Because in the several applications they are using lots of operations, so it may be confusing. Like in database, by handling database and all, we are using indexing methodology. So it is obviously it leads to confusion us. For that purpose, we are using the that binary search tree structure means it will be highly useful for us to easily what sorting all the nodes, all the files and all. For example, files according to its order. So like that, we have using the binary search tree and B tree by using the smallest node as a that condition. That's it. Okay. So rest of all conditions are available. Like there is no any condition for any B tree and all. Like we have using the condition right. So exactly at most two nodes only. Child nodes will be present in their parent child. There is no need to use that condition in this B tree and all. Okay. So only binary tree and binary search tree only having the condition called exactly two children. Here we don't have any condition for B tree and evil tree and all. Okay. I hope you are clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any more? Any doubts?
Difference between or advantage of trees over graphs? Are there any? Like there are two types of
What?
non-linear data structures, like graphs
Yeah.
and trees. Does one have an
Yeah.
advantage over the other?
Yes. Okay. So actually, there is no need. There's no any competitions from these two structures. But while using tree structure, graph structure will be applicable for global level things and all. So we are using a larger for larger applications. We are used graph structure only. For small application, one is system based application. We are using tree structures and all. Like global linking systems, we are using the graph structure only because it having the node as well as edge. Right. So it is end-to-end connection between all the network systems. In networking system, we are using the graph structures only. Right. So it's a global level of connection system. So highly advantageous is graph structure while compared to tree structure. Okay. So in several applications like complex system-based application, we have used tree structures and all. Okay. So this is how we can separate classify about tree as well as graph. Graph in graph structure we can use it many more applications like mathematical. We already saw like that. No. So we have used in chemistry, physics like that. There's lots of applications are using graph structures. Not it's not only for this. This is small things. In computer science also we have used lots of applications like in a networking system, database management. Not database. It's a data organization system, computation system. In AI, we are using the graph structures only. Like so, graph is a worldwide system. We have using this structure. Yes, I hope you have clear.
So B tree and binary tree are same.
No, actually, B tree contains two elements. We have store. Nodes will have and the root node will contain exactly two child nodes. Right. So, but in B tree there is two child. There is one or more nodes. Okay, root node, and it also contains a one or two or more child nodes. There is no any restriction. The only one restriction is the smaller value will be comes in left hand side, and the larger value will comes in right hand side. That's it. This is the only condition while using B3. That's it. Any else?
Can you please explain the balance factor in AVL tree once again?
Yeah. Actually, balance factor is nothing but why we are using this balance factor technique means. So if you are using actually we are in a rest of all trees, binary trees and all. So we are going to specify some things. We are the developers. We are going to specify something. If the condition is like this, it must be changed like this, like that. But in balance, in a AVL tree, the tree will automatically what it will be what it will changes modify itself. How it will changes like that only means by using this some factor called balance factor. It will be automatically balance itself by itself. So how to calculate the balance factor means by using the formula called height of the left subtree minus of height of the right subtree. That's it. So height of right subtree minus of height of left subtree, whatever it may be. Right? We have to make difference between two unbalanced node. Okay. So the rest node will be the answer. If it exists as zero, it will be not a node. Right? It will be not modified. If it is a one, it will be modified with a particular node. If it is minus one, it will be not mine. It will be sorry. If it is zero, it will not change. If it is minus one, it will be changed to according to the reverse manner. Okay. So if it is one, it will not change. That's it. So if the conditions minus one is not used, that's it. If a minus one is exist, the node is not balanced, not in balance. Okay. So automatically what it does means it will be changes the node. It will automatically modifies its a particular node. That's it. So what? So this is how the AVL tree works automatically. Actually,
Thank you.
any more else?
कौन सा टॉप वो क्या होता है
Yes, guys. Now we are going to see about algorithms. So we all know what is algorithm. Anyone? Anyone know what is algorithm? The term algorithm. It's a valuable term called algorithm. What is algorithm?
step-by-step process of completing a task.
Yeah. Simple example. Very good explanation. So step-by-step procedure to perform any specific task. That's it. Yeah. In computer science, programming and mathematics, an algorithm is a sequence of instructions where the main goal is to solve a specific problem. The main goal is to solve some problem. That's it. Okay. So that for that only we are using some algorithm, some steps. That's it. Okay. So it is highly helpful to solve many problems, computations and all. Like so, in some way, an algorithm is a very clear specification for processing data for doing calculations among many other tasks. And all. So this is actually the work of any algorithm. Okay, so it's a simple example. The algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve any specific, complicated or simple problem. That's it. Okay. So here in this session, I'm going to share something the basic algorithms. Okay. So the algorithms, the two basic algorithms are searching algorithm as well as sorting algorithm. Okay. So in searching algorithm,
Arshit, please mute yourself.
sorry guys, and search algorithm are designed to check for the element or retrieve an element from a data structure. Right. So we all know something called operations of a data structure like traversing, searching, inserting, like that, right? So sorting and all, right? So here we are going to see about searching and sorting algorithms. Understand? So in all data structures, we are going to do searching as well as sorting. Okay. So those two algorithms are major basic algorithms for all the data structures. And all. So actually searching is nothing but we can search any elements present in the several data structures. It may be linear. Okay, that's it. So element retrieve an element from any data structure where it is stored. That's it. This is actually called the searching. Here, there are also some searching algorithms are present. This is a simple algorithm, not all algorithms, some basic algorithms, searching algorithms. Okay, so what all are they means? First one is a linear search. Okay, the second one is binary search. The third one is jump search, and the last one is Fibonacci search. So here I am using only this four searching algorithms because these are some basic algorithms. Okay, yeah. So actually, what is a linear search? While coming to linear search, this is the first algorithm. So linear search is nothing but we can take any array. Okay, here we have discussed with the array. Okay, so any array, what happens means I want to find the element called 10. Okay, kindly please see this image. I want to find the element called 10. Okay, so what means the pointer will be the pointer is the I. Okay, the I is a pointer. The pointer will check sequentially one after another. I is equal to 3, I is equal to 4, I equal to 7. So like that, it will be what? It will be looping, iterated over that. So once if the element is exists, the 10 elements exist, it will be shows it index value. That's it. Here in this picture, you can see the array of I is equal to 10. This is our value. We have to find the value 10. So before that, all the elements are in false value. Once the element will come to 7th position, it will be written true. That's it. So the index value is 7. That's it. So this is how the pointer will be linearly searching. Search. The basic search algorithm. Okay, that's it. Sorry. It relies on the technique of traversing a list from start to end by exploring properties of all the elements that are found on the way. Right. So this is all about a linear search. The next search is about a binary search. Binary search is an efficient algorithm for finding an item from a sorted list. So actually, the what is the work in a binary search means? Here my target is 5. Okay. So what I'm going to do means there is a length array. So here in this array we have 10 elements. Right. So in this array, what it do means there is a 2 pointer. Okay, so m and n, there is a, imagine that there we have a 2 pointer. Start, one pointer is in present in start and another pointer is present in end of the array. Okay, what it means, it will check whether first it will find the middle value 5. Okay, so here we have a middle value as a 5. Okay, so there is 4 is the middle value. So whether it will be checked whether the 4 is equal to that 5. No, it is not equal to 5. If it is equal to 5 means it will directly returns the value, the index position of 4. Okay, now when it is not equal to the target value, what it do means it will change the positions. Right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 will be separated as a separate array, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will be separated as separate array. Then what we have to do means we have to do a linear search over there to each arrays. That's it. So before doing the linear search means what happens? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is lesser than value. The target, these values are lesser than the target value. So the automatically what happens means this array will be dropped out. This part of array will be dropped out. Okay. So next what happens means my pointer will move to consider this second part of my array which starts from 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So here what it do means it will be perform the linear searching. We already saw the linear search. Linear search nothing but it will search from the continuous manner. That's it. So here in this case we are having the 5 is the first value is the 5, our target value. So it will obviously return the 5 value. That's it. So this is how the binary search mechanism will be work. Okay. So actually this is the best while compared to linear search. Okay, because the time complexity will be lesser than while compared to the linear search algorithm. That's it. Right. So it works by repeatedly dividing the half the portion of the list that could contain the item until you have narrowed down the possible location to just one. So this is will be dividing all the half of parts of the array, then it will be searched. That's it. This is the basic search of the basic step of binary algorithm. Now, what is called jump search? So jump search is nothing but if I'm having a array if having an array with a size of 20 or 10, we can do binary search, either binary search or what else? Linear search. Right? But in my array, I'm having a 50 or 100 plus of elements. Right? What it will do? The binary search also takes some time complexity. So to overcome that, we are using a jump search. So in jump search, what you do means first in unsorted arrays, first it will sorted all the arrays. So this is the first step of the algorithm, jump search algorithm. Okay. So if I want to find the value called 34, what it do means it will be what it will be check whether 4 terms. It will be what fit the array divide the array to n number divided by 2. Right. So automatically the part dividend will be we have get the value. So it will be jumps from that part to another part. Okay. So while being in this part, second part, it will be start the linear search. Okay. So in that linear search, if it is find that value, it will be returned. If it is not find the value, it again go to next 4 part. For example, if I am having a 16 elements value, okay. So if I divided that, I will get 4 values. So I am going to say to my pointer to jump from 4 to 4 position. 4 position. So it starts from 0, 1. It will goes to 23 first. Right. So 23. And on there, what it will do means it will just perform the operation called linear search. There is no any value called 34. So it will be written 0 there. After that, what it jumps to next 4 elements. On next 4 element, it absolutely find the element called 34 there. Understand? So it will return the 34 and it's dropped out. That's it. So it will be jumping from it will be jump and search the values. That's it. So this is known as jump search. The basic idea is to check a fewer elements. Okay. Then linear search by jumping ahead by a fixed step or skipping some elements in place of searching all the elements. So this is the actual mechanism of jump search. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry guys for the yeah. So this is all about a jump search algorithm. So next search is Fibonacci search. So we all know the term called Fibonacci series, right? It's a comparison based technique. Okay, so that uses the Fibonacci numbers to search an element in sorted array. So actually, the element before going to do any functions like jumping, searching, and all, so the array must be in sorted manner. That's the main important thing. If it is in sorted manner only, the all the what all the functions will be happen, the searching functions will be happen, right? Yeah. In Fibonacci series, we all know what is the exact function of the Fibonacci series or not, right? So it will check the numbers and it will be added the next number with the previous number. Okay, so by that it will be check the elements, the particular the target elements present in that series, and it will be written that. Actually, this is normal of Fibonacci series only, right? Yeah. Yeah, guys. Till now we have saw searching algorithms. If you have any doubts, please ask me. Right?
No doubt, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes, sir, you can continue. No doubts.
Now we are going to say about some sorting algorithms. So actually, what is a sorting? Actually, sorting is nothing but some arrangement. That's it. Actually, it's some arrangement. Okay, so we are going to arrange something with some methodologies. That's it. So here are 5 types of sorting algorithms, basic algorithms. So first one is insertion sort, merge sort. The third one is a selection sort. The fourth one is bubble sort, and the last one is quick sort. Okay, so we are going to see this one. So the insertion sort. In insertion sort, the actually what is a function in the insertion sort means what means if the unsorted array, the unsorted elements in an array, what it do means the pointer will be compare the values. So first what happens means it will compare the 2 to 4, right? So 2 is lesser than 4, right? So it will exist. Next 4 to 5, 4 is lesser than 5, it will be exist there, and 5 to 6. So like that, like in here one is in here one, we have 1. So 6 is greater than 1, right? So what happens? The 1 will be placed in here. That's it. So insert it will be sort according by the inserting some value by comparing them. That's it. Okay, it will be sorted some unsorted value in an array. That's it. So the array is a virtually split into a sorted and an unsorted part. Values from the unsorted part are picked and placed at the correct position in the sorted part. This is how the insertion sort algorithm works actually. Right. Second one is merge sort. In merge sort, what it do means the unsorted elements present in the array, it will be splitted all the elements. Like what is splitted 2 and 1 and all. And then what it do means it will be compared. Well, 6 is greater than 5, yes. It will be the 5 is come first and 6 is come second. Then it will check 3 and 1, the 1 is smaller, 3 and greater. Then it checks 7 and 8, the 7 is smaller, 8 is greater. Again it will check 2 and 4, the 2 is smaller, 4 is greater. Okay. Now it will be directly checks whether the values are present on smaller or greater. Here 1 is greater. Now 3 is greater. Then here 5 is greater. Again the value 6 is greater than 5. Okay. So next what it will do means it will check the again next part of the array. The 2 is greater and the 4 is greater than 2. 7 is greater than 4 and the 8 is greater than 7. So like that it will be merged like that. So this is how the merge sort will work. It will be compares the values. First it will splits the combined value in the different types, right? So again after that it will be matches, it will be checks compares the values. Okay, check whether the 1 is greater than 2 or 3 is greater than 4 or 7 is greater than 8. Like that it will check, then it will be sorted. That's it. This is how the merge sort algorithm works. So merge sort repeatedly break down a list into a several sublists. Okay, it will be repeatedly breaks the list into several sublists until each sublist consists of a single element and merging those sublists in a manner that results into a sorted list. This is how this mechanism works. Merge sort mechanism works. Right? Yeah. Now what is about selection sort? Actually, what is selection? So here what happens means my pointer will select some value. Okay. So here I have selected 2. I have to compare all the rest of all the elements with that 2. Okay. So the like if 4 is greater than 2, yes, correct. It will be place that 4. If 6 is greater than 2, yes, okay. If 5 is greater than 2, okay, fine, no, nothing has happened. 3 is greater than 2, yes, okay. Now 1 is greater than 2? No, it is less than 2. So what happens? The 1 is will be plotted in the front of the sorted. Right? So this is how the selection sort will be occur. Okay, so it will be select some value in an unsorted array. Okay, so then it will compare the particular value with the rest of all the elements present in an array. According to that, it will be ordered, sorted the values according to the ascending order, not ascending order, greater than value. This is how the selection sort mechanism works. Okay. Now, what is the term called bubbles? What is bubble sort? So bubble sort is the simplest sorting algorithm. It works by repeatedly swapping the adjacent elements if they are in wrong order. So actually the swapping mechanism happened here. So the first two elements will be swaps. If the 4 is greater than 2, it will keep the 4 there. And 4 to 5, the 5 is greater than 4, okay, no, nothing will happen. 5 is compared to 1. No, 1 is smaller than 5. What happens? 1 is swapped to the left portion and the 5 is to the right portion. This is how it will be iterated to that only. According to the final elements will be come in the same order. That's it. Okay, this is called a bubble sort. Just the swapping mechanism will be happen here. That's it. Okay. So by this, if you can easily understand that here 1, 2 are placed, and the 2 and 3 will compare. Okay, nothing will be happen. Now 4 and 5 will be checked. Yeah. Here swaps, and 6 and 5, 6 and 1 will be swapped here. Like that, it will be swapped and ordered in the particular position. What is about quick sort? It works by selecting a pivot element from the array and partitioning the array other elements into two subarrays. Okay. So according to whether they are lesser than or greater than a pivot, subarrays are then sorted recursively. So actually, there's some pivots are there in both sides, like in merge, binary search, like that only, but not exactly like that. It's sorting, right? So, but two pivots are plotted in both sides. So, according to the pivots only, the checking process, the comparing process will be done there, right? So, if the greater value exists, then the the smaller value is second to the largest value, it will be swaps. Okay, so like that, it will be checks like that. That only. You can see this picture: 1, 2, and 3. Now, the 2 and 3 will be checked. It will be ordered in correct manner. Now, the 5 and 4 will be checked. The 4 is lesser than 5. Then what happens means it will be goes and the 4 will be swapped here and 5 will be swapped in the particular position. And again the 8 and 6 will be pointing to us. Then it will be what swaps the order. That's it. So this is how quickly we can sort any arrays, unsorted arrays. Okay. Yeah, guys. This is how all the sorting algorithm works. Okay. So anyone have any doubts regarding this basic sorting algorithms? Guys, there are lots of algorithms present. Okay. So I'm now this algorithms of basics algorithms of computer science. Right. So there's a lots of algorithms present of while coming artificial intelligence or any computation things. There is some large applications algorithms are present. But to handle those algorithms, these basic algorithms are most important. Data section algorithms are most important to solve those complicated algorithms and all. Okay, so basics algorithms are most important. Okay, so you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me. Yeah, no one have any doubt?
No, sir.
You can continue, sir.
So next, the third topic now we are going to see is analysis of algorithm. Till now we have some data structures, right? Algorithms. Okay, now we are going to see about analysis of algorithms actually. So this is actually a very important thing. While keep in mind, okay, so while using any structure, while solving any problems, we are considering this only. So how we are using which data structure is good for this problem, which algorithm is great for using this problem. Okay, so like that only we are imagined like that. Then only we have using that particular algorithm and data structure to use it to solve any problem. Okay, So what are the things we have to keep in mind to choosing a particular structure and algorithms and all, based upon the time and its performance? That's it. The two things are most important. Based upon the time and its performance, only we have to choose any structure and all. Okay. So we have just imagine that we have lots of, we have to add some two values. We have to add two values, right? So instead of using right, like not add, we have using some swapping function. Okay, fine. In Python we have using some swapping. What we have to do, some people are using some swap, x is equal to y something and all they use. By using that, we are using the a comma b is equal to b comma a. That is a more efficient way while compared to that 3 to 4 steps, right? So this is how we can analyze the procedure. Okay, so why we are using that a comma b is equal to b comma a? What is the importance and what is the use for that? Means we can reduce our time as well as space complexity in our code, in our machine. Understand or not? We can easily get our output within a second, while rather than using a 5 to 10 lines LOCs and all. Okay, so this is how we can calculate, analyze the any algorithms and all according to the problem. That's it. Here, the analysis of algorithm is a process of analyzing the problem solving capabilities of an algorithm in terms of time and sizes. Time is nothing but our running time, that's our program execution time. Size is nothing but our memory size. That is our RAM. That's memory size. The time and performance are the main concerns of analysis of any algorithms and all. Right? Yeah. So here we are going to see about the complexities of the algorithm. So what is the term called the complexity? So the complexities of an algorithm computes the amount of times and spaces required by the algorithm of the input size. So what are the input size the user will be given, according to that only the complexity will be dependent on that only. Okay, the user sizes input sizes billion and billion, means what it will happen, the system will be what the first thing is the time complexity will be highly what increasing. And the space second code and bring that code in the 2-3 lines minimum. If we have 1,000 lines, we have to make that as a 500 line. So for that, why we are using reducing that 500 means for maintaining these two complexities. So okay, so in we have using Google or Microsoft, we have practice some hash code and all that global program contest and all by Google's and all. Analysis is most important while solving a problem. We have to concern both things. First, we have to capable to solve a problem. The next one is we have to write an efficient code. Efficient code is nothing but by using the complexities and all. Considering the complexities. Okay, so these two things are most important while handling any problem solving. Okay, so while coming to competitive programming, we have to keep this mind. We have to be write efficient code, and we have a capacity to solve any real time problem. These two is more important. Okay, so the time complexity and the space complexity are two types of complexities. So actually, what is time complexity? I already told that the time complexity is defined as the process of determining a formula for total time required towards the execution of an algorithm. Actually, time complexity is nothing but how much time required to execute my code. That's my program. If I want to perform any leap year program or whatever it may be, prime number, whatever it may be, some algorithm, how much time my system requires to take to execute my record output. That is important. Okay, so based upon this, we have considered the best, first, and average cases and all. Okay, so the time complexity is necessary. This is how we can calculate our time complexity and all. Implementation of programming language. The next one is about the space complexity. So what the space complexity? Actually, space complexity is defined as the process of defined formula for prediction of the memory space. So the memory spaces must be important. Okay, we need not to write a wide number of codes and all. We're supposed not to use large number of codes, and we are supposed not to use more and more variables and all. Right? Try to use some data structures and all. Right? Instead of using A, B, C, D, like the same, if I want to using employee database, if I want to store any all the employees, 10 employees means, right? So string A is equal to Ashwin, string B is equal to Arjun, string C is equal to Ram. So like that, instead of using that, what we can do? Anyone knows what we can do? We can using a array instead of using data structure. So instead of using that type, we can using some data structure to make the space and time complexity more easy. Understand or not? We can using instead of defining all the names and each and every line and each and every variables. Instead of using that, we can use a simple array to store all the employee names and all. Okay. So this is how we can maintain our code with respect to time and space complexities and all. Okay, so we have to imagine, we have to think that instead of using this, we can use any structure to save the time and space and all. Okay, this is how all the recruiters will be expecting from us. Okay, so we have to maintain these two things in our mind while writing any code. Efficient programming is must important, right? Yeah. So we have come to our final session. So guys, anyone have any doubts regarding this analysis or anything else in this session?
No, sir, it's clear.
Yeah, fine. Anyone else?
No, it's all clear.
Sir, I have a
Yeah.
doubt. Sir, how can we allot
Yeah.
equal amount of time for both data structures and development? Like if we are into development, it's hard to focus on competitive coding, basically data structures. So how we should allot time based on our interest? Like
Yeah.
some people are
Yeah, that's
interested
not
in
a too
data
complicated
structures.
thing actually. So while coming to yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, and while coming to development side, we are using first the part is the competitive programming is first stage for all things. Okay, so we have to solve in while coming to software engineering. Okay, software management. So the first process is to analyze the procedures and all. We have to analyze all the requirements, all the needs and all. For that phase only we have to solve the problem. Okay, so we have to solve any time real time for designing that websites or designing some any applications and all. So that time only we have the developers are using allocate some structures, algorithms and all. Okay, if they allocated, if they design that, the developers can be easily develop the structure according to that only. Without that, we can't do any development work. Okay, unless and until we have to know which to make a time easy. Worst case means then we move on first. Okay, so before that we can't do a particular good software and all. So this is the most. This is the main process involved in software engineering. Okay, this is how. So both like competitive programming and development are both important things for building any software. Okay, without that, this will not exist. Without this, that will not exist. That's it. Anyone? I hope I have cleared your doubt. Or anything want to help? Talk.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Fine. Guys, anyone have? Have now just 3 minutes more.
Okay, sir. Let's wind it up here. Aditya, if you are here.
Yes, I am. Yeah. So can I start? Okay.
Yeah,
Honorable
you can.
Honorable Speaker, President of iQuest, teammates, participants, good evening. It is my honor and privilege to extend a vote of thanks on this August moment. I, Aditya Singh Rawat, would like to thank the board members, organizing committee for awarding me this opportunity. John Kennedy said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude. On the behalf of the organizing committee and our college, I would like to thank our honorable guest Ashwin Kumar, who graced us with his presence and guidance. I would like to express our sincere thanks to Ashwin Kumar for giving excellent coverage on the topic data structure. We are inspired by your great work, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the committee members and all the participants. I hope all get something, some clear set of about the data structures and algorithms and all. I hope like that. Yeah.
So guys, we will continue with the open sourcing part tomorrow. So please join us at the same time. We'll send you the link and everything. Every detail will be notified in the WhatsApp group. So just be there. Now you can leave.